Now I'd like to invite Arti Davis, the Senior Vice President from Sweden-India Business Council, to moderate this very important session with the Energy Agency and on the Innovation Accelerator. And of course, the Energy Agency is we are very proud to have them as a partner for this event, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Sanju. So for those of you who've joined us after the coffee break for the first time today, let me recap. We've heard today so far that energy is going to be critical for our green transition, changing the way we use it, changing the way we store it, changing the way we actually conserve it. So today's panel is very timely for that discussion. Swedish Energy Agency's India-Sweden Innovation Accelerator is our next panel, and I would like to invite up on stage Ludwig Lindström, India-Sweden Innovation Accelerator, Senior Business Development, Swedish Energy Agency. Cecilia Oskarsson, Trade Commissioner of Sweden to India. And we have online with us K.S. Venkatgiri. There we are, great. Executive Director, CII Godrej Green Business Center. And then our two startups, who are ISEA companies, Bo Hammarlund, Business Development and co-founder Epilovac, and Imad Aghi, Chairman and CEO Ekelu Group, AB. So I think I'll actually stay here. I get a good vantage point of everyone. And I'm not what's important. So I'm actually going to start with you, Ludwig, and the Swedish Energy Agency. Now, you have ISEA, India-Sweden Innovations Accelerator. It's a program that's been running for over 10 years with the partners that you're working with that we've just introduced. Clearly, something is being done right. It'd be great to hear from you what that is and how you've managed to crack the code. And of course, as you've all heard, I work with Sweden in the Business Council, and we work with business culture. We look at translating one to the other between Sweden and India. ISEA has done this in a very successful way. Share with us what some of those secrets are.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Well, I would say it's it's a difficult question. But to start with a little bit of a background, maybe that could put some light on it. We look back to 2011, and we had this delegation coming from India from the National Innovation Council, visited Sweden because they, in the work with the 12th five-years plan, they have identified Sweden as a country of innovations. So they came to try to understand how the Swedish innovation system worked and so on. We had a lot of fruitful meetings, both at our office and also Vinnova and so on. And that was the first seed of when we started with the discussions of how to bring these companies, small companies with new innovations, to the Indian market, to this huge country with large conglomerates. And how to try to bridge these contacts. And in that work, we had to create a structure how we could tie the two countries together. One important function in this was CII. We teamed up with the CII Godrej GVC, because they have all the knowledge about the Indian market and the grassroots there, both the large, huge companies and also the small companies. And also together with the Business Sweden office. Business Sweden is a Swedish organization with the foothold in Delhi and also in Bangalore. With that structure, we actually managed to have a function bridging Sweden and India in a stable and solid way, that we could replace local presence. And that is one critical thing, because you can't expect small, medium-sized companies, 10, 20 people in Sweden, to actually be able to start with putting up an office in India. So we had to try to substitute for that. And that is the program and the structure of it, how we replace that need. And over the years, so we have the network and the strong connections to to Indian industry established. And then, of course, the long-term perspective also has to be reflected in the journey of the individual company. Each company, they're part of the program for 1.5, 2 years, and traveling several times as part of the program. Starting with knowing nothing about India, it's a large country and a lot of impressions, and you don't know where to start. And in the end of the journey, after 3 or 4 trips, we expect them to have developed their own knowledge based on whatever technology they have, and also market knowledge, their own network, and also prioritized contacts to move ahead and for their individual work. So it's a process curve for the individual company, and it's based on a structure that is solid and stable.
I think that's great when you talk about a process. So you create a structure, you create a framework, but it's a process that different stakeholders have a different role to play year in, year out. And then, of course, that comes to Business Sweden, because Business Sweden now has been in Delhi and in India for over 25 years. And the delegations, and I'm sure Bo and Imal will tell us that as well, are just one step in that process. Of course, after you make contact, you have to cultivate contact. You have to create the partnerships. You have to create the presence on the ground. And Business Sweden becomes critical to take the organization and ISEA between delegations and actually make process and activity and progress happen. Cecilia, it'd be great to get your comments on that.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for having me here. So just showing that ECS, or India-Sweden Innovation Accelerator, has been there for 10 years shows the commitment to sustainability and green transition from all of us, I have to say. And this is constantly being strengthened through the flow of new companies coming in, but also through the management of the showroom, the sustainability showroom we have in Delhi, and also the onboarding of new industries and academic partners to the program. So we at Business Sweden in India, but also at Business Sweden in Sweden, is constantly working together with the Swedish Energy Agency, but also with CII and especially Green Business Center, to deliver this very high impact value to the Swedish companies. And if we talk about the recruitment process of the companies is quite thorough, we need to have the right players in order to make the program successful. So not only are they going through a need assessment study, but also a readiness study when it comes to the solution, but also the business plan and the business model. And every year we take through 4 to even 8 sometimes Swedish innovative technologies to the Indian market. And each one of them, just like Ludwig mentioned earlier, will receive a very tailor-made step-to-step support during what we call at Business Sweden the export coaching program. We also have an alumni support to take care of all the companies that have, during the years, gone through the program. And one of the most important thing here is the Sustainability by Sweden showroom in our New Delhi office, which is run by us and also Energy Agency. And just to mention a few of our alumni, FOV Biogas, Baudi, Clean Motion, Granule Disc, and PPAM Solkraft. This showroom has a continuous flow of visitors, but we also run a couple of workshops on frequent basis to promote and showcase the Swedish solutions. And just recently in September, we had a workshop with clean air. It happened to be very synced with the visit of Swedish Ambassador for Sustainable Business, Cecilia Ekholm. So just to sum up, Arti, maybe this continuous flow of delivering very high quality, but at the same time having a very experienced team and a very well-balanced team, both in India and in Sweden, that really sets this Innovation Accelerator program on the side. And I just want to highlight that this year, a few weeks back, we actually received a high impact program for energy efficiency prize in India for it.
I think that's amazing in terms of looking at impact and how consistency actually pays off. Receiving the prize in India for an international program, I think we can all say congratulations. And also the showroom, to be here and now and touch and feel. That's really important as you move through the 10 years that you've now been on the ground to see how things have actually progressed and the impact you're making. But I come now to KS Venkagiri, Giri, as I call you. I've worked a lot with you. And you're the third party in the successful trifecta that is ASEA. And of course, CII spans every city in India, every state in India. It has different centers of excellence, Green Business Center being one of them. And you have a unique vantage point when it comes to Indian business, Indian consumers, what they're looking for and what they need, which must be very valuable when it comes to looking at which companies to bring from the delegation to the market. Giri, it'd be great to hear from you about the unique characteristics of ASEA and how you cross-fertilize the information that CII has at large, filtered and focused into the ASEA program.
Thank you, Artik. Before I speak about my viewpoints on the question you asked, I think CII and the Green Business Center are extremely privileged to be part of this initiative. I still recall with nostalgia the first meeting which I had with Ludwig and Business Sweden early in 2011, 2012, which led to the development of this program. Having said that, what is it that we have learned in the past and what is it that we look for in the future for this program? One, it's a very, very opportune time for clean tech technologies in India. Just give you an example, we were about 8.4 billion square feet of green buildings. Last year, we have reached about 9.75, and in a few months, we would be crossing about 10 billion square feet of green building footprint, which means there's substantial demand for technologies which can make the buildings green. That's one. The second, we started a net zero building mission about 2 years back. 350 organizations have committed to become net zero by 2050. So greening is one, net zero is taking it to the next level. Just give you another example, Indian Railways, one of the largest transporter in the country and the world, has committed to become a net zero by 2030. All this means there's tremendous opportunity for clean tech service providers and technology providers in India right now, number one. Number two, the ISIA program over a period of time has gained increasing credibility. For example, in 2012-13, with great difficulty, we would be able to get about 30 meetings for the visiting delegation. Right now, we get about 95 to 100 meetings. And whenever we ask for somebody, they agree to meet with the delegation, as well as also tell the other companies who are around to meet with the delegation. That delegation has become, and the program has become extremely popular amongst the Indian industry and Indian stakeholders. Thirdly, the attitude of the industries in India to implement clean tech has changed. Earlier, it used to be whether it's possible or not possible. What are the cost economics of such an idea? Is it required to be done this year or next year? Right now, everyone wants to take up clean tech technologies, implement clean tech technologies. And the question is, can you do it this year? There's a sense of urgency amongst the companies which are implementing clean tech technologies. So I feel, the joint collaboration of Business Sweden, Swedish Energy Agency and CII has created an excellent platform for this program to further scale up. My request to all the existing ISIA partners, whosoever has come for the last 10 years, my request is look at some aspirational target. CII has been working with some clean tech startups. There are some clean tech startups who are looking at 5 times their turnover in 3 years. Maybe the ISIA companies in India, they have established a good footing in India. My request is consider some aspirational target of 3 times or 5 times in the next 3 years. That's for the existing companies. For the new companies, it's a very, very opportune time to work in India. There's a sense of urgency. There's a sense of tendency towards implementation by the Indian industries. And from the point of view of CII, whatever support you need, whatever support the Swedish companies need, whatever the support Business Sweden and Sweden Energy Agency needs, CII will be more than committed to be part of this. One more thing which we all can be proud of, there are many countries which are approaching CII to initiate a program which is similar to ISIA. This definitely demonstrates the success of this program. Thank you, Arti. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. I don't want to let you go just yet because you've mentioned some key points. And of course, this event is being streamed online. Of course, we have a physical audience here who might need to understand the Indian consumer a little bit more. And I'd like to pick up some of the points you mentioned that are important to keep in mind when approaching the Indian market. One is patience, one is brand, and one is understanding the market and the consumer. You've mentioned now that the uptake for clean tech is not what it was 5 years ago. So, of course, the ASEA program is working with a subtly different consumer base and a subtly different market base. But the importance of brand and patience when working with India, can you just say a few words about that so our audience, who would also be part of the ASEA replication process, can understand what's important when approaching the Indian market?
Yeah, very, very well said, Arti. Number one, you said about patience. Yes, one has to understand that not to sell the product to an Indian company, but to work with the Indian company patiently and solving its problem rather than supplying or selling a product. That definitely, that has many of the companies which have followed this approach have substantially benefited. The second one, the brand of CII, Business Sweden and Swedish Energy Agency coming together has also created some sort of an acceptability amongst the Indian industry. For example, we say Indo-Sweden Innovation Accelerator program, we have got this company to come and meet with you with a CEO. Very highly likely the CEO gives an appointment because it is being promoted by CII in India, which has got a lot of credibility. It is being supported by Swedish Energy Agency and Business Sweden, which have give that international credibility and that feeling. So the brand of CII and these three organizations coming together has definitely made a big difference over a period of time. And also the past success, the success of the companies which have come in and have established themselves, serving the needs of the Indian companies, that also the past successes have also increased the credibility further. That has created a brand for ISAA program as a whole.
But
Thank
Gary,
you.
you're also walking the talk. If I understand correctly, GBC has solar panels on your rooftop that come from the ASEA delegation, one of the companies that's working with them.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for pointing it out. We have PPAM Soulcraft was the company which has been involved right from the very beginning for a long time. We have installed the bifacial solar panels of PPAM Soulcraft on top of the Green Business Center building in Hyderabad. With the installation of those high efficiency solar panels, the GBC building has become a net zero building, and that led to actually the net zero movement to start in India.
Exactly. So it takes actually walking the talk and standing behind, of course, the companies that are part of the ASEA program. But just to come to you, Cecilia and Ludwig, to ask you about the evolution of this program. Cecilia, you mentioned tailor-made, bespoke programs for each company. That's not necessarily how the program started, but of course demand has picked up and you have a number of different requests. As Giri mentioned, everyone that's being asked for a meeting is saying yes, when and how fast can we meet you. What does this evolution mean for the team that gets involved in the ASEA program as you plan delegation to delegation and quite ambitious delegations?
Well, of course, it means that a lot of time is being put into it from the whole team in Sweden, but also in India. And each one of the companies also have a representative from our core team following them when they travel around and meeting companies. So it is a huge logistic plan behind everything, but I think it's worth it because this is what gives not only India the experience, but also the companies the exposure that they should have.
And of course, we're going to hear from two of those companies today. But before I do that, I want to ask you, Ludwig, in terms of the screening process that, of course, the team does together. Now, in the last delegation, if you give us an idea of how many companies, how long did that screening process take to go through the applications that you must be receiving?
Right now we start reaching out to companies in Sweden for the delegation in April. So we start now. In second half of January, we close and start doing the selection of stakeholders with their applications. What we look at is, of course, the technology, maturity, turnover, and so on. most important is the relevance for India, and that the team in the company that they have planned to set aside for this work are dedicated, and also that we have a feeling that these people, these persons, can actually cope with the circus around it, because it is a circus traveling with this delegation. For each delegation, when we're having 10 companies, we have 10 different programs that goes in and out in each other.
It's an amazing logistical challenge, like you say, but there is order in the chaos, and every year you come out stronger and stronger. So with that, I'd like to hand over the two companies that we have with us as ASEA members, and I'm going to start with you, Bo, to give us a quick product pitch and your experience sharing. And I will switch.
So this is the one I
Yes.
switch. Okay.
I'll
Right.
actually
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
step behind you.
Yeah. So I will tell you about Epiluvac, company I co-founded like 7 years ago, and we do equipment to make semiconductors. And of course, we were really excited to read about semiconductors in India. It's taking off, and there's lots of investments over there. So the challenge is, of course, the global warming, energy conservation, improving efficiency, renewable energy, and electrical conversion. For this, you need very good power electronic devices, and that's what you do with the equipment that we can supply. The new semiconductors, silicon carbide and gallium nitride, goes into next generation of electrical trains, electrical vehicles. That's the main driver for the silicon carbide material. And gallium nitride, main driver is charging stations and the 5G amplifiers for base stations. And silicon carbide in the electrical vehicles can go another 7% longer, or you can make a 7% smaller battery. So it has a really good impact, and you can see on the slide here, there are many places in the electrical vehicle where silicon carbide and gallium nitride goes in. And companies like Tesla, Porsche, and some other German companies have started to make cars with silicon carbide. Also, it's going to be very important for an intelligent distributed microgrid, where you have different sources for your electricity, solar cells, wind power, biomass, and energy storage in batteries, for example, where you need to switch in and switch out power, electrical power into your grid. And so you can actually make components up to 20,000 volts and 800 amps for modules. And the silicon carbide market is really fast growing right now. As you can see here on the slide, from 2020 to 2030, the compounded average growth rate is around 35% almost. So it's grown very, very rapidly, especially in China, US, and to some extent, of course, in Europe as well. And I was with Business Sweden and the Energy Agency in May. We were quite successful. We met with customers like Cemet, and we sold a silicon carbide wafer production equipment. We also met with potential customers like Solid State Physics Labs, and we're actually pulling together a quotation for their silicon carbide reactor to make these structures that we call the PN junctions. And we also talked to a new company, Povency, and we're looking into see whether we can help them to set up a small fab for silicon carbide MOSFETs, transistors manufacturing. And also, I can mention that we also looked into a few potential distributors in India. So it was very successful 2 weeks, and of course, service from Business Sweden was excellent there. And this is actually the products that we're selling. It's a piece of equipment that actually can grow production, and also is very efficient for research and development. So here's some other information as well. But here's my coordinates if you have wants to have some more additional information. Bo Hamelund at epiluvac.com. So are there any questions?
Well, I have a question, Bo.
Oh, super fast, wasn't it?
No, it was excellent. Everyone was given strict instructions on their pitch. No, but we wanted to ask a question. Now, as a company approaching the ASEA program, what made you consider India? Of course, ASEA becomes a second step that's quite easy to understand, but India is a complex market. What made you look for India?
Tell me about it. Yeah. I mean, since I knew Ludwig since way back, and I found out that, I mean, every newspaper I read, it was about semiconductors in India. So I thought, okay, we don't want to miss this opportunity to be there in the early days.
And so how has it been in terms of making contact?
Oh yeah, tons of contacts. And also I follow up on LinkedIn, and I have the Swedish people here from India as well in the electronic industry. So right now maybe I have 60 to 80 contacts for semiconductor stuff.
So what would you say to companies here looking at India as a possible market? What should they keep in mind based on your experiences?
As Ludwig said to me, this is not one country. This is different countries, each and every region. And go with Business Sweden, Energy Agency, if you have something related to energy savings, of course. Because it's really hard to make it on your own there. It's not like going to Japan or US or anywhere else. It's more complicated. And I mean, just to have all the arrangements with all the traveling. And also, I did have some ideas about who I wanted to meet before I came. So I had maybe 4 or 5 meetings that I initiated from back home here.
But having the bridge is a really strong support network.
Oh, yeah.
To amplify.
And follow-up support.
Exactly. Great. Thank you so much.
All right.
And we come next to Iman and Echo.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, my name is Imad Agi. I'm the founder and CEO of Ecolo Group. And my friends call me the Lou King for some reason. Well, it's about sustainable toilets that doesn't need any water to flush. Water can be used for hygiene purposes. It doesn't need energy, no water, no smell, and no infrastructure, no digging, no piping. It uses actually bacteria culture to treat the waste and turns the liquid, the urine, into a liquid fertilizer, and the solid will vanish. The bacteria, our free soldiers, free workers, they eat all this solid material. We have for indoor and outdoor, you can install it anywhere you wish to have a toilet, even on mountains, cold climates, whenever. And this is how you sit on the toilet. The best sitting, squatting position ever you can imagine doing your business. And it's very comfortable, I can tell you. We have been into over 25 countries today and impacted over 2 million people, sold over around 4,000 toilets. And the thing is that you don't have any issues with clogging or sewage. And with today's crisis when it comes to water scarcity and energy scarcity, this is the best solution because waste management consumes a lot of energy and the water generated or the leftover is not even good for irrigation. We have sold to United Nations, UNDP in Jordan, UNSOS for military bases in Somalia, UNHCR to Mali refugee camps, PDRF for disaster relief, and so on. So it's a huge customer segment around the world, just imagine. And we received over 30 awards, recognition, support from over 30 organizations, including UN Foundation. We have been on CNN, of course, Swedish Energy Agency. Thank you very much. Masdar City, UNWTO, and so on. So, are you inspired? Do you want to join the movement to make a change? Call me. I want to be actually here for you and you for me. Together we make a difference. Join our board of directors as well. because we need a lot of in-kind support as well. So together we are strong. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The business of doing business. But I want to ask you about, we met, I think, about 8 years ago in
we did.
Mumbai. So you're an ASEA alumni, and you've seen the process in terms of your company from where you started understanding the market to where you are today.
Exactly.
So tell us how your journey in India has been in these last 8 years.
Well, I read about the program that the Swedish Energy Agency offered, and I had to convince Ludwig that actually the sanitation is the key to save energy. And if you save sanitation, you save water. You don't need to treat the water because you don't need a painkiller. You need to really get into the source and eliminate the problem. And the energy demand just for waste management is something nobody knows about. From digging, piping all the pipes, manufacturing all the pipes, I mean the PVCs, all the infrastructure needed, waste management, the energy needed to pump all the sewage into the waste management, or the STPs, what you call it, sewage treatment plants, the water that has been treated to flush in the drain, all this energy. And if you're really aware about all this energy and you use Ecolu as a solution, you won't have this energy crisis today in Europe.
But so where have you got the most uptake when it comes to markets and consumers within the country, when you present what is, as far as I can see, a win-win solution in terms of energy and, of course, service?
Yeah, I mean, India is very sensitive market when it comes to pricing. And, I have been there many times, tried to, penetrate that market. Very difficult market. It's like blind. Getting on board with the Swedish Energy Agency and CII and Business Sweden become like, I'm not alone. I'm like, I have a big team with me already, supporting me on this journey. And without them, I wouldn't be able to even do what I have done today. I have already signed agreement with the manufacturer in India. I have signed agreement with existing toilet manufacturer in India. So I'm joining, co-branding. I don't want to compete with companies. I want to join them with their journey to make a difference. My name is Imad. I make a difference. So I want to, to follow that my name become like something I do as it says. So with that, I'm very grateful and humble. I was very glad to be accepted and be on board. And they have got, I got a lot of support from online preparation. You prepare all this, who do you want to meet? Customer segment, that stakeholders, who you want. So we have tried everything until we find the right way to go, the path. So it's lightening the path for us instead of going like blindly, and then you go alone, nobody will respect you. But going together with them, it's like conglomerates will open their doors for you and say, come on, you are welcome. Please join us.
I think this is great to hear, and I actually want to end today's panel to ask everyone here, as part of the stakeholdership, and Giri, if you're still with us, I will end with you. What should we keep in mind as the strength of this collaboration? And I've come to companies last, but you've been running for 10 plus years. You have a number of companies now who've successfully gone through the process. Imad is an example of someone who's stuck with the process over 8 years as an alumnus. What is the key, do you say, one key, to keep in mind when creating such a structure? Cecilia, I'm going to start with you.
Do you mean creating a structure such as the program, or?
As a program to bring in startups, to meet the market, understand where they're best fitted. Because of course, as we've heard now many times, there is chaos. We're coming to you soon. There is chaos. Number of buyers, number of sellers. How do you make sense of this? And you put together something to help them make sense of this with multiple points in terms of the process, the program, how you work with them. If I would ask you, Business Sweden, Cecilia, to select one, what would
I
that
would
be?
say the framework of the whole program, to set a good framework which you can use and then, of course, develop during the years as we have done.
Excellent. Ludwig?
I can't say one, but the long-term perspective, when we started, we already were looking at year 3 and ahead. So what we're doing the first year was because of what we're aiming for.
So never go in with a short-term perspective when it comes to India. Stay long-term.
Yeah.
Great. Bo?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've seen that since I was with another company, it's like 6 years ago, and there's a lot of progress have been made by Business Sweden at the time, over that time, and I had much more opportunities now, actually. And we were flying all over, actually, where they have a semiconductor industry or research and development in different universities and so on. So it was, to me, it was a big difference. Though.
So having the programs and the policies in place to set support networks for companies like yours.
Yeah.
Great. Imad, I'm sure.
I would
One
say-
thing.
I would say it's structured, organized, and they listen to the startups.
Great. Listen to the startups.
I
Create
mean,
a
they
voice
listen
box.
to what the startup want to achieve.
Important.
And through my journey, I realized that I could change or switch from a path that didn't work to another path until I found the way. I didn't know who to approach first. Is it CSR company, conglomerates, or is it distributors? At the end, it was totally different path.
So
but they listen to us. That's
a
the thing.
framework that allows for course correction. Also
Yeah, it's
very
the
important.
flexibility.
Absolutely.
That
Great.
is the
Giri, I'm going to give you, with your Indian vantage point of thousands of industries under the CII belt, what do you think is critical about ASEA that has made it go from strength to strength like this? One key takeaway.
One takeaway, Arti, is that we looked at a much bigger goal when we started the program. Ludwig spoke about long-term. We thought long-term, we also spoke about a much larger goal. We thought of helping the country and the world solve the climate crisis and look at innovative Swedish companies as a tool for doing it. We had a goal which was much larger than Swedish Energy Agency, larger than Business Sweden and CII, number one. Number two, we had very clearly defined roles. Business Sweden had a very clear role, and Swedish Energy Agency had a clear role, and CII had a clear role towards this objective. All three of us had complementary roles, and so this was one of the reasons why this program worked. A larger goal and a very clear role, a long-term plan. The potential is extremely high right now in India. So I think that we have done well, but I feel the opportunity to do much better is much higher in the days to come. Thank you.
Giri, I think the words we end on with this panel will echo throughout the day, which
One
is
more
coming
thing.
together.
One more thing. I mean, also very good was Business Sweden when they got together with people. I mean, they gathered people in the garden at the ambassador, and we could meet with 20 to 30 people at the same time. That was a very good networking.
As much efficiency as possible. Yeah. But I'm going to come back to Giri's words of shared vision, that we're coming together to be greater than the sum of our parts, to actually work towards a common future that we all contribute towards. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for sharing your journey. Over to you, Sanju.
Thank you.